Hello, my name is Jordan Gibbs, using the Career and Technical Ed here at Gull Lake High School. I'm currently taking independent certification, and I'm just here to give you an update on how my training's been going, what I've been learning, and just showing off some stuff. So first off, this is what I've been learning. I got through Unit 1 and then all the way down here to Unit 2. The only thing I have not taken yet is the Unit 2 exam. Um, and this stuff was just an introductory stuff, so I didn't really include that on my e-portfolio, if you were curious about that. But here is where the real fun starts, the networking basics. I go through a network overview where it teaches me different things like WANs, LANs, MANs, and different network topologies like the bus, star, mesh, partial mesh, ring, and just the basic stuff like that. Then I go into the OSI model, data encapsulation, um, and then it also teaches me a bit about the TCP IP model, or the transport control protocol over internet protocol. And it teaches me how that works, and I also go through a few network protocols, which is still a lot for me. I need to go back and study that, truthfully, but I know a few of the basics. So I figured the best way to show off my knowledge would be to do a presentation. So this is for Unit 2, test out for Comptia Network Plus. That's the certification I'm going for, is the Comptia Network Plus, and I'm using Testout's training course for it. So first off, we have WANs, right? It's two metropolitan area networks like connected together. Like let's say we had a LAN in one city and then we had a LAN in another. Those two, if we connected those together, we would have a WAN, right? Also known as a internetwork. So now that we got that out of the way, we know a LAN is basically a bunch of devices connected together. Metropolitan area network, or a MAN, is like a city, all the LANs in a city. A WAN is the connection between two different metropolitan area networks that creates an internetwork or a WAN connection. I'm trying to. There we go. So next thing I learned is I learned about ring, mesh, star, partially or partial mesh, and a bus topology. I didn't go into. I don't believe I went into the tree topology. I mostly just went into ring, mesh, star, and bus. And that's because mostly you'll usually see these topologies. So I just want to start off. Logical topology is how data is transferred from one device to another. Like for a ring here, for instance, it goes around and around until, like, let's say this dot wanted to go to here, it'd go to this device until it finally reaches its recipient. That's how the data is transferred, right? Um, but just because uh, the physical topology is how the physical devices are cabled, right? So if we have a star topology right here, right, they're all connected like via a switch or maybe a router, possibly, um, but they're connected in some way. So, but just because it has a certain physical topology doesn't mean it can't have a different logical topology. For example, a logical topology of the bus could work with the star topology, right? Like, for example, when using a bus topology, logical topology, um, if this device wanted to send data to this device, it would send it to every single device on a network. So if this device wanted to use the logical topology of a bus and wanted to send it to this one, it would go to the switch and it would send the data to everywhere. So that's basically a basic of topologies. Then after those networking terms and stuff, it was you basically learn about um, the OSI model and TCP over IP model, right? So I guess the best way to go about this is explaining how what each layer does. I'm gonna start off with the physical layer, which is basically the physical cabling. Like you'll see Ethernet cables, and how like the electrical signals pass the bytes of data through. Um, and the data link uses switches, network adapters to find out MAC addresses, all that stuff. And network assigns an IP address, uses IP addresses over network. Um, it's networking layer. Uh, and transport layer transports data from the second layer, or not second layer, I meant. Okay, sorry, I had to pause there for a second. I got my thoughts straight. The transport layer segments data for the network layer. So the network layer could turn that into a packet, giving it an IP address. The data link will then turn that into a frame um, by adding the MAC address. And the session, think of it as two connections. That's what I like to think about it. Two connections between like a server and a client, maybe. Um, I also forgot to mention that the transport layer like assigns like port numbers, right? So it knows where to send it to. Well, I shouldn't say it. I should say data. It knows where to send data from. Presentation layer encrypts and data formats for the application layer. It's basically a translator for the application layer, and the application layer is like uh, how you interact with the application. I'd like to think of it as like a way to like it's an interface for clients and services. So for example, if I go out of here, I went to Google, right? You'll see HTTPS, that protocol or hypertext transfer protocol with an SSL secure or protocol, which basically it just makes sure that your data is encrypted, uh, right? And me interacting with this, it's like I'm interacting with the web server, right? Um, this is the application layer, right? If I search in something, that's application layer, right? That's the best way I could explain it. So then you got two kinds of models. You got the TCP/IP model and the OSI model. The TCP/IP model is used more than the OSI model because it just simplifies it. Basically, the application layer, all these processes happen, right? It just brings them all together. And this is where you'll see things like the three-way handshake, where like if two devices wanna like communicate with each other, they'll send like a SYN, and the other one will send a SYNAC, and the other one will send an ACK back. Um, it's hard to explain in words like without a diagram, but that's basically how the TCP/IP model works. It works the same way as the OSI model, it's just simplified. Um, yeah. So this is data encapsulation, um, and I'm pretty sure this is the TCP/IP model because it's four. Um, so in the application layer, you'll have the data that you need, right? And the transport layer will add a UDP model, or I believe it's user data diagram or datagram protocol or something like that. Um, but you can either use UDP or TCP. UDP is like for videos, right? It doesn't care about packet loss when it goes through the segmentation, because if you're watching a video, you probably won't notice like a pixel or two missing, um, realistically speaking. But that's for UDP, right? For TCP, that's for like files, right? Um, like if you wanted a file of like a image, you want to make sure that all those pixels are there, or like an email. You want to make sure all that data gets segmented, and that's what TCP checks for. It'll check for packet loss, and it could just resend those segments. Um, then in the internet layer, you'll have it attached a IP header. It encapsulates the transport layer into the internet layer, and then the internet layer gets encapsulated into the link layer, right? And here you'll have the IP address of the source and the recipient, and then here you'll have the MAC address of the source and the recipient. If the device doesn't have a MAC address of the other recipient, it'll send out an ARP request. I learned about those, or address resolution protocol. I believe that's what it is. ARP. Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, it's basically it'll send out a broadcast frame to find out the MAC address of the recipient using resolving using the IP address. It'll just continue doing that. That's not a very good description. I would say I could do better, but I don't have a diagram or model to go that, so I just want to say what I learned. And I think is at the end of the slideshow. Yeah, because that's basically all I. Besides that, though, I have learned a bit of protocols. I want to show off my notes a bit. I have been reading off of those a bit, but you'll see here that I have a bunch of notes here. See, I have notes on Unit 1 even. But I would go through. I'm gonna show off my note taking process. So I'd go through and, like, let's say I have a video here. If it load. Oh, nope, that's not a video. Go back. So I'd go through and I'd copy this, and then I'd throw it in some AI so that I get like the whole transcript just turned into notes. And then as the video was playing, I'd read the notes, so I listened to it and read it at the same time. But yeah, that's my notes right there. Well, I haven't shut off completely all my notes. So we went through networking overview. I learned about topologies. I also did practice questions, right? They had practice questions throughout. I printed those off into a PDF and embedded it. And I just did that for every single one. And of course, I have gotten questions wrong, so I just went back and redid the quiz, and I was able to get all of it completed. Besides that, we have ports and some more practice questions, because every section in the Unit 2 would have some practice questions. So I just went through those. Some of them had vocab, but I can't print those off for some reason. But yeah, these are all the things I've learned. I went through every single video, learned a lot. The only thing I still need to do is the exam, and I just need to review these protocols, because these are a lot of protocols to memorize. And I'm going to try to memorize everything that they do. Thank you for listening to me ramble on a bit about what I've been learning. And if you want to see more, I'd recommend checking out my notes. I have them linked on my ePortfolio. If I go to here, go training, you'll see my notes linked here, in case you want to know what I went through. And yeah, thank you.